With Trump's proposal, I'm not aware of any significant proposals to curb gun violence. On the other side, on the Republican side, unfortunately, you see a lot of xenophobia, a lot of anti-immigrant rhetoric and actions, which I know Korea is very much leading the way in when it comes to different uses of innovative technologies for purposes of transportation. So without a doubt, I think there will continue to be more opportunities to manufacture EV vehicles in the state of Georgia.
Besides being born and raised in Georgia, what has brought you up to be the representative of Georgia?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would be where I am today. I did not grow up wanting to run for office or to be a politician, but 10 years ago, back in 2014, my mother was diagnosed with cancer,
Oh,
stage 4 cancer.
mm,
She was given 4 to 6 months to live without chemotherapy or treatment, and about 2 years with treatment. It was public health insurance, Medicaid and Medicare, that gave her a fighting chance. And in 2014, that's when Republicans blocked Medicaid expansion or access to health care for more than 500,000 Georgians. It's under President Obama, who expanded the Affordable Care Act that, covered or helped insure 10 million Americans.
mm.
It's the Republican Party that more than 20 to 30 times have tried to overturn that piece of legislation. In the state of Georgia, for example, we are one of 10 states that has not expanded Medicaid, which is a public health insurance program for low-income Americans. That's resulted in more than 500,000 Georgians, 1 in 10 people, not having health insurance and having some of the worst health outcomes in the country. And so that's ultimately what compelled me to run for office. And it's a fight that I continue to fight to make sure that every single Georgian has access to healthcare and a fighting chance, especially if they get sick.
I feel so sorry for the high school shooting. How should the next president handle this gun violence?
So we need action to address the epidemic of gun violence in America. Only in America do we have a problem like this. And that's because, frankly, because of a radical interpretation of the Second Amendment of the Constitution, in which, it's been interpreted such that, you can have rifles and AR-15s that are weapons of war in the streets. So during President Bill Clinton's administration, there was a assault rifle ban that they had put in place
Mhm.
after the Columbine school shooting, if I recall correctly. And we saw a precipitous decline in gun violence as a result of the actions taken there. I know Kamala Harris has proposed significant actions um, to curb gun violence that include a lot of common sense measures such as universal background checks, a ban on assault rifles,
Mhm.
and red flag laws, where, for example, if you are convicted of domestic abuse, you cannot get a gun.
Then how about Donald Trump?
With Trump's proposal, I'm not aware of any significant proposals to curb gun violence. My understanding is that he is very much like the Republican Party today, in the supportive of the NRA, which is the National Rifle Association,
Mhm.
which essentially has taken the position of absolutely no regulations on guns whatsoever, which is a position I strongly disagree with.
You represent Georgia, one of the battleground states. Georgia turned blue in 2020 from red in 2016, which means your state can be the key state this November again. What are the major concerns of voters in Georgia?
So the number one concern, I think, with Americans, whether you are Korean American, African American, Hispanic American, whether you live in Georgia, New York, California, the Midwest, it's the economy. It is higher costs. It's put an incredible amount of strain on Americans across the board. And you see it whether it's filling your gas tank at the gas station or whether it's going to the grocery store. And it boils down to some of the essentials, right? That includes access to affordable housing, rent, right? Access to affordable healthcare, education, transportation, groceries. That I think will remain the number one issue that a lot of voters in Georgia primarily care about. Then I would say it's democracy. It is our freedoms and rights. We've seen, the right for women to have an abortion taken away. In Georgia, back in 2019, we passed a 6-week abortion ban and the criminalization of healthcare providers who want to provide support. Most women before 6 weeks don't know whether or not they're pregnant. And so it's essentially an outright abortion ban. And now we're seeing Republicans potentially also going after IVF and in vitro fertilization, which is such a important opportunity, especially for those who are trying to start a family. And so, we've seen what we have considered to be fundamental constitutional freedoms and rights taken away under the Trump administration and his appointment of Supreme Court justices. And so I think that also remains top of mind and top of concern for a lot of voters in Georgia. The one thing I hear all the time from women voters in Georgia in particular, is how shocked they are that they never could have imagined that their daughters and granddaughters will have fewer rights and freedoms than they did. And so that will remain a top issue, I think, this November, this election as well.
Georgia has a large portion of Black American voters. Can you guess where they're heading for this November?
Yeah, so politics in the state of Georgia are very racially polarized. And so what that means is, based on your race, you tend to side with one political party versus the other. So, for example, the African American community, by probably a 90 to 10% ratio, overwhelmingly support the Democratic ticket, right? Georgia today is majority minority, meaning there is no racial majority group. You have Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, and it is the immigrant communities, Asian and Hispanic, that are growing the quickest. And so what we're seeing right now, which also causes some of the, I suppose, socio-political turmoil that we're experiencing, is a decline in the white population. Black population is slowly increasing, and it's the Asian and Hispanic communities that are really increasing in growth. And so therein lies an opportunity for us as a nation of immigrants, us as a diverse country and a diverse state, to, have a new American majority emerge that is diverse, yet united by shared American values and principles of ensuring freedom, equality, and justice for all. On the other side, on the Republican side, unfortunately, you see a lot of xenophobia, a lot of anti-immigrant rhetoric and actions.
Georgia is a leading state in economy with huge investments made by Korean companies. Will this be sustainable?
Yes. First and foremost, as a Korean American Georgia state representative, I'm so proud of the strong bilateral bipartisan relationship between the Republic of Korea and the state of Georgia, where Georgia has been able to work in having historic amounts of investment from Korean companies that you mentioned. There is a concern in terms of the sustainability from a resource perspective that includes energy, water, things of that nature. But I do think that there will be future opportunities for growth as we transition toward more sustainable energy sources, as we want more electric vehicles, more solar panels, more batteries. And so I think the opportunity for growth will certainly continue. From the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act to the CHIPS and Science Act passed under the Biden-Harris administration, I think, they've made historic investments in new technologies, which I think will certainly allow for greater opportunities for both Korea, United States, and the state of Georgia to partner and ensure that we can continue that growth.
Well, I want to be clear here with Harris because it seems like she's keeping a distance from Biden as if she does not want to mandate making electric vehicles anymore. In terms of it, will the EV industry, also invested by Korean companies, be okay in Georgia under Harris administration?
Without a doubt. More than anything, I want to ensure that there's opportunities for greater innovation that would include hydrogen, which I know Korea is very much leading the way in when it comes to different uses of innovative technologies for purposes of transportation. So without a doubt, I think there will continue to be more opportunities to manufacture EV vehicles in the state of Georgia. Again, I don't think that there's going to be any sort of moving backwards when it comes to standards for vehicles and incentives for electric vehicles. As far as I can tell, right, I would anticipate greater investments in electric vehicles, and if anything, an acceleration toward using electric vehicles over the next few years.
Your last words for JTBC viewers and Koreans here? Maybe if you can do in Korean, that would be
Yeah.
good, but
I don't know if I'd be able to do it in Korean, but thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm always so proud of my Korean heritage. And yeah, I hope that we can continue to work together and grow together and thrive as we move forward. But thank you.
thank you so much for your time today.
Of course. Thank you.